Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going straight into really the heart of a high-stakes aviation decision. We're looking at a tiny piece of software logic that it can literally mean the difference between a safe climb out and, well, terrain.
Exactly. We are focusing on one of the most intense, demanding, and frankly startling sequences a pilot can execute. We're talking about the go-around maneuver on the Airbus A320.
Okay, so let's set this scene. You've been flying an approach. Could be for a while. Weather's probably not great. You might be tired. And then suddenly you realize you have to go around. Maybe the runway's not clear, visibility drops, whatever it is. You instantly go from this slow, stable, low energy state to a max thrust, high energy climb. It's a massive workload spike.
It's a huge startle event, and in that moment, your training kicks in. The immediate response is just pure procedure. TOGA flaps. They're confirming max thrust. You're focused on that pitch attitude to get SRS, the speed reference system, to engage, and then you're looking for that positive rate of climb to get the gear up. It's all vertical.
Right. It's all about climbing away, but there's this silent, crucial question that can get lost in that chaotic split second. Once the plane is climbing, who is navigating laterally? Where is it actually going?
And that is the absolute core of the issue. Because for decades, the default logic on the A320, while reliable, was fundamentally dangerous in certain places. When you push those thrust levers into the TOGA detent, the aircraft would automatically go into a mode called GATRK, go around track.
GATRK. It sounds harmless enough, but what it really means is the autopilot is basically saying, I'm just going to fly a straight line.
Yeah.
A straight line based on whatever direction the nose was pointing the second you hit the power. It's completely ignoring the pre-planned escape route in the FMS.
Exactly. And, in flat, open country, maybe that's fine for a few seconds while you sort things out. But what if you're flying one of these really complex RNPAR approaches, required navigation performance? Think flying into a valley like Innsbruck or Juneau. The published missed approach there might be an immediate sharp curve turn to avoid a mountain.
So if the pilot is overwhelmed, completely maxed out on workload, and they forget that one single manual step, which in the old system was physically pushing the heading knob on the flight control unit to arm NAV mode, then that straight line from GATRK is pointing you right where the procedure was designed to keep you away from.
It's a perfect trap for spatial disorientation. You've got the safe path, the required procedure, sitting right there as a big purple line on your screen. But the airplane in GATRK is drifting away from it. And the time it takes to notice that, process it, and then push the knob, you might not have that time in complex terrain.
And that historical vulnerability is exactly what we're digging into today. We're looking at the NAV in go-around modification, which is an update Airbus described in their safety materials to automate that one critical push, to make sure the aircraft latches onto that safe route the second you initiate the go-around.
It's a fascinating look at how automation is used to manage human factors, especially during these really high-stress startle events.
Okay, let's start with that legacy friction point. Before this modification was available, why was that workload so high? What was happening exactly when those thrust levers went to 2GA?
It was a really rapid sequence of mode changes on the Flight Mode Annunciator, the FMA, and they created this split in what the system was actually doing.
Can you lay out those three mode changes for us?
Sure. First, auto thrust commands 2GA power. That's simple. Second, vertically, the mode changes to SRS speed reference system, which manages your climb. But the third one, the lateral one, that's the problem. The lateral mode becomes GATRK.
So why? Why did Airbus choose GATRK as the default in the first place? It seems so counterintuitive if, 99% of the time you want the published procedure.
That's a great question, and it really gets into automation philosophy. GATRK is the simplest, most basic lateral mode there is. It's incredibly robust. It doesn't rely on the FMS being set up perfectly. It guarantees a wings level straight flight path using raw data. It was seen as the ultimate fail-safe.
Okay, so it was prioritizing simplicity over actually following the procedure. But that simplicity adds this huge cognitive load if you do need to fly that complex path.
Precisely. To get onto that published missed approach, that purple line, you had to manually interrupt that GATRK default. You had to physically reach up to the FCU, the flight control unit, and push the heading selector knob. That action told the plane, okay, forget GATRK, I want you to arm NAV mode.
And this is where the human factors trap really snaps shut. In a high-stress go-around, you're thinking pitch, power, positive climb, that one very specific action pushing a lateral nav button, which you never do on a normal takeoff. It's so easy to miss.
It totally violates muscle memory. I mean, think about it. On a normal takeoff, NAV often arms and engages all by itself. But the legacy go-around required you to manually intervene to get that same level of automation back. And if you miss that push, the flight plan is staring you in the face on the screen, but it's completely useless.
Yeah.
The autopilot isn't listening. It's stuck in GAPRK, and you could be drifting out of protected airspace.
So the old system basically built a potential and potentially fatal delay into an already chaotic moment. That's just not a sustainable risk, especially as RMP approaches became more common. So how did Airbus fix that workload spike with this modification?
They streamlined the logic to match what the pilot actually intends to do. The NAV and go-around modification just fundamentally changes that interaction. Now, when you apply 2GA, the system automatically checks for a valid flight plan and then immediately arms or engages NAV. You don't have to touch the FCU.
So the lateral part of the go-around now looks and feels almost exactly like a normal automated takeoff. The pilot can just focus on managing the energy, managing the vertical path, and trust the FMS to handle the sideways stuff.
That's a really good way to think about it. But the logic is actually a bit smarter than that because it depends on the type of approach you are flying.
Okay, let's break that down. There are two main scenarios this modification handles. First, what about the managed non-precision approaches? Your NAV, APP, any final APP type approaches?
This is the most critical safety feature, especially for RNPAR. For those approaches, since you're already using the FMS for navigation, NAV mode just stays engaged. The aircraft never even reverts to GATRK for a second.
That's huge for RNP. So if the missed approach starts with an immediate curved turn, the plane doesn't roll its wings level and fly straight for a moment. It just keeps turning.
It just keeps turning. It maintains continuous lateral guidance, which ensures you stay inside that very narrow, protected corridor designed for the RNP procedure. The danger of drifting out is gone.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, scenario 2. Precision approaches and ILS. There you're following ground-based radio signals, not the FMS. What happens when you hit TOGA on an ILS with the new logic?
This is where it gets clever. When you go around on an ILS, when GATRK does engage for a moment, but at the exact same instant, NAV is automatically armed. You'll see NAV pop up in blue on the FMA. And blue, of course, means armed, ready to engage.
And when does it turn from blue to green? When does it actually engage?
It engages as soon as the normal capture conditions are met. So usually that's when you pass 100 feet on the radio altimeter. This just makes sure the aircraft transitions really smoothly from that basic tracking mode to the FMS-guided procedure. It gives you confirmation that the escape route is locked in.
So it's intelligent automation. It's designed to take that manual push out of the equation no matter what kind of approach you're flying. It really addresses a decades-old issue.
It's a major step forward, but it also highlights why you have to understand and monitor your FMA. You have to look at those enunciations and confirm the system is doing what you expect.
Okay, so we've established the automation is great. It handles things automatically, unless you trick it. Which brings us to the final and maybe most critical part, the heading preset. Gotcha.
Right. And this nuance gets right to the core of automation philosophy, which is that the system will always respect the pilot's most recent, most explicit manual command. It won't override what it thinks is a direct order.
And the order that stops the automatic NAV engagement is having a preset heading on the FCU.
Yeah, let's walk through how that happens. Imagine you're on final, maybe 3 miles out, strong crosswind, and the tower controller says Airbus 320, in the event of a missed approach, fly runway heading. Or maybe they give you a specific vector, fly heading 030.
So good airmanship, you immediately dial that heading into the FCU. You set 030 just so you're ready to comply instantly if you have to go around.
Exactly. You've told the airplane your intention through the FCU. Now, a few moments later, you do have to go around. You push the thrust levers to 2GA.
The moment you hit TOGA, what does that new smart automation see?
It sees that a heading has been manually preset, and it interprets that as you, the pilot, wanting to fly that heading from ATC, not the published missed approach in the FMS. So because it prioritizes your explicit manual input, the automatic NAV arming feature is inhibited. It's switched off.
So even on a brand new, fully modified A320, if you hit TOGA with a heading preset, NAV will not arm automatically. It'll just revert to GATRK, and it'll wait for you to manually pull the heading knob to engage that vector you dialed in.
Correct. The automation is basically saying, hey, you asked for heading 030, so I'm not going to automatically grab the FMS pass. I'll wait for you to tell me to engage 030.
And that's fine if you intend to fly that vector. But here's the trap, right? What if you preset that heading, but then moments later, you realize you actually need the published procedure? Maybe there's sudden wind shear or a noise abatement rule you have to follow.
And that's the trap. If you change your mind and hit TOGA without clearing that preset heading, the inhibition is still active. NAV will not arm automatically. You are stuck in GATRK flying straight. You're now relying on noticing that on the FMA and then manually pushing the knob. The exact step the modification was designed to get rid of.
Wow. So the aircraft is designed to reduce your workload, but it also forces you to be absolutely meticulous about your inputs.
Okay.
If that heading isn't needed anymore, you have to clear it.
Meticulous is the word.
Yep.
And you have to continuously monitor your flight mode annunciator. That is the single source of truth. Look at column 2, your lateral mode.
So if you hit TOGA and you glance up at column 2 and it just says GATRK and you don't see NAV in blue underneath it, you know instantly you're not on the FMS path. You have to intervene. That FMA glance becomes the new muscle memory.
It's a non-negotiable verification step. It doesn't matter if you're in a modified plane or a legacy one. Never, ever assume the automation is working, especially when you're under stress.
And this is a modification, right? Not standard across the whole A320 fleet, which adds another layer of complexity for pilots flying for, say, a big airline.
Oh, absolutely. It requires specific FMGEC standards. And a lot of airlines run mixed fleets.
Yeah.
A pilot could fly an older jet in the morning that needs the manual push, and then a newer one in the afternoon that automates it. The most dangerous assumption is thinking the automation you had 5 hours ago is there for you now. You have to check the FMA every single time.
This whole deep dive really shows that more automation doesn't necessarily mean less knowledge is required. It shifts the focus, right? From doing the procedure to understanding the logic behind it.
That's a perfect way to put it. The automation does the heavy lifting, but the pilot is still the guardian of the system. You have to verify the modes.
So let's bring this all together for everyone listening. Let's summarize the 3 key takeaways you really need to internalize about this NAV and go-around modification.
Okay, number 1. The fundamental change is the lateral logic. On a modified aircraft, hitting TOGA will generally arm or engage NAV automatically. It removes that need to manually push the knob for the published missed approach.
Number 2, the main safety driver was R&P protection. The mod makes sure that on those complex, curved missed approaches, the aircraft stays on the path and never engages that straight-line GATRK mode, keeping you clear of terrain.
And number 3, the big one, the critical operational lesson. Always remember the exception. If a heading is manually preset on the FCU, the automatic NAV arming is inhibited. The aircraft will prioritize your selected heading. You have to confirm your lateral mode on the FMA every time.
That's the essential deep dive. It's a logic update that minimizes human error in a crisis, but still requires the human to understand exactly where the automation's boundaries are.
It reminds us that these intelligent systems are incredible tools, but they absolutely rely on us understanding their rules.
So here's something for you to mull over and apply. The next time you're in the simulator doing a go-around, before you do it, just preset a random heading on the FCU, then hit TOGA, and take that split second to glance at column 2 of your FMA. Did NAV arm? Or are you drifting on a track just because that preset knob? Understanding that one inhibition could save your next high-stress go-around.